Paltrocast.
Wes, how's your day going aside from having to do media and answer the same questions over and over and over again?
That's been excellent. Thanks. I found all the interviews interesting and just been working on some new music.
Well, that new music, The Wolf, is something that's gotten a lot of people talking because great music video, which you star in. The song was co-written with Keith from Breaking Benjamin, one of the biggest rock bands of right now. How did you and Keith first connect?
My manager Blasko had arranged a series of writing sessions, and Keith was one of the individuals I was had an appointment made with, and we still to this day are just very, very glad that connection was made.
Now, I didn't know that Blasko was your manager. How many job titles does Blasko have? Because producer, songwriter, manager, bassist, I believe, etc.
And philanthropist. He's everything. He's amazing, Blasko. You know, I will never forget how lucky I am to be working with him. And I asked Rob Zombie who he thought would be a great manager for me, and he introduced me to Blasko.
Now, the more you get to know Blasko, do you still call him Blasko? Does it become Blaz for short?
Still Blasko.
Okay. And so how many songs is The Wolf part of a batch of? In other words, you did all those writing sessions. Are there 20 songs and you're thinking of paring it down to an album, or are you one at a time, one single at a time?
The Wolf was done as one in one. It's its own thing. But I have like 5 to 6 songs that I've done since let's say the Prehistoric Technology album I did, and the Wolf. I had done quite a few songs, but 5 or 6 have made the cut, I think, and definitely want to incorporate those with the Wolf, plus write a few more and maybe have a nice 12-track album or something.
Interesting thing about The Wolf, I mean, there's many interesting things about it, but it starts off with the piano, but it's obviously a guitar-driven song. Was the piano an afterthought? I'm sorry, I can't speak today. Was the piano an afterthought, or did it actually start on the piano?
The piano was definitely with us because when I made the song with Keith, I had my piano with me, my upright Steinway, or my grand Steinway rather, and he had his keyboard and guitar and everything. So we definitely made it with the piano in mind.
When did music start with your whole journey? Because you have a lot of acting credits, and we do see that there's an upcoming film where you're composer and actor, so they bleed together in a good way. But did you start off playing as a teenager in garage bands?
I definitely would say my career started as a musician when I was a teenager. About 13 years old is when I started to, I've been playing since I was 8, but 13 is when I started to like really practice so I could be a professional musician. And by 16, I was doing my first album. So I'll say about then, but yeah, luckily now, my acting and my music, they're both these parts of my career. They're benefiting each other, which I really have always wanted to see. I've always wanted to see that happen, where my acting would propel my music and my music would propel my acting.
And also the MMA propels that all. And I mentioned that because I did a junket for a movie that we saw you in, Mojave Diamonds, which had Chris Cyborg. It had some other great MMA people in it. So it's pretty cool that you're able to blend the music, the film, and the MMA. Is that accidental? Is that organic? Or do you go, in order for me to do this project, it has to have all the stuff I love?
I think that happened itself by law of attraction or something. When I was a little boy, my youngest memories are doing martial arts. So it's like really martial arts, particularly MMA, acting, and music were the 3 main art forms that just I've always been doing. There's also some I'm also pretty um, I would say competent chef
Oh,
and other things too. But the three main ones are music, acting, and martial arts.
there's the cool photo, or I'm sorry, the cool video of you on Instagram with the good German suplex slash takedown from your amateur wrestling days. I didn't know that about you before going through your social media. So are you a retired MMA fighter, or do you think we might get you out of retirement in the future with the right offer?
Well, my last fight was 2018. I won heavyweight champion in Las Vegas at a competition that had sambo, combat sambo wrestling. Um, so I probably have a few more in me, and I definitely want to do, give everyone an amazing knockout one day that they can all watch. But I love doing that movie Mojave Diamonds. That because it had all those MMA fighters, and I have a background in that. Also, that's the film that really is a diamond because it introduced me to my fiance, who's my absolute soulmate, woman I've been looking for my entire life, and the woman I was looking for in other people and could not find. So luckily, she was the costume designer on that, and um, yeah, shortly after we made that movie, we stayed friends, and I proposed to her.
And you had a great tribute to your fiance on social media when you had the custom shirt of her face made, the mall style. What do you call those stores? The screen printing kiosks. Did you do one of those at a shopping mall?
She got it for me because she knows that I wanted a shirt with her on it. Like I had to have that. And then she can have one of me with a really scary look of mine or something for all the because a lot of you know guys look at her and stuff like that, and when she's working and stuff, so, to know that she has an intense fiance.
Well, when we're talking about all these interests of yours of MMA, which you said there might be more fights, we know that there's upcoming acting related projects from IMDb. There's this new single through Pavement Entertainment, and there's more songs. What are you? What meaning when someone goes, "Hey Wes, what do you do?" What do you say at this point?
Well, if they understand polymath, that's the best, I think. But uh, I say I'm an actor, multi instrumentalist, pretty much. Um, that does MMA. I mean, I've been working on my own martial art for a long time that I've been kind of creating and writing down all the moves. It's more of a self defense system. When I was about 20, I was intoxicated and everyone says I tried to attack a personal trainer, but it was not a personal trainer. It was my personal manager. And I had gotten kicked in the balls, which is something that I didn't even think it didn't exist in my world because I was a martial artist only. And that completely threw my black belt and all at that time, 20 years of my martial arts away. It didn't matter that I had that, or no, sorry, 17 years of martial arts. And I basically started writing my own system and training in self-defense like Krav Maga and Sambo.
That is an underrated aspect of it all. I mean, I love Van Halen, and when Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth had their problems in the mid '90s, Eddie did this interview where he said, "The next time that Dave sees me, he better be wearing a cup." So I think that you are ahead of the game on that one.
Yes.
Sorry for the bad joke right there, but back to the music thing. Do you have live shows on the horizon?
Absolutely. I think that we're going to be doing some festivals and live shows for sure.
And would it be the kind of thing because you are a solo artist? These days, sometimes we do see like Yngwie Malmsteen. He's just on stage playing the tracks with a wall of Marshall amps. In your case, would it be a band that you're fronting?
It would definitely be a band I'm fronting, yeah. Um, and of course, my usage of backing tracks is never for vocals or for things that can be done live. It's only for the industrial and symphonic or effects that we have in the background the drummer needs to play to because we couldn't hire a billion musicians to play each and every little sound that we record, but
Now, you mentioned Rob Zombie before because we were talking about Blasko. Rob Zombie was clearly influenced by Ministry. Who was your band that entered you into loving industrial music?
I would say Rob Zombie, Rammstein. Those two really got me into the industrial sounds and really made me enjoy that. Of course, Nine Inch Nails as well.
Did you go from top 40 to industrial, or is there a detour first into hip hop?
Um, well, I did when I was a kid have my phase where I was listening to a lot of Eminem and stuff like that. But I think that my love for heavy music was a little stronger than that. Yeah, I just love the heavy industrial and heavy metal. Even I remember when I was a kid, I heard heavy music in my head, and I didn't know what it was called or how to ask someone like how do I hear metal. I didn't know it was called metal. So I one day I heard a soundtrack in Mortal Kombat when Scorpion and Johnny Cage are fighting in hell basically, and this huge power chord was played um, on a down-tuned guitar, and I remember that was like, oh, that's the kind of music I want to make.
Was that the original Mortal Kombat that had Seven Dust before they were called Seven Dust on it?
I think so.
Got it. And then what was your upbringing in terms of concerts? Did you go to a lot of concerts first?
I went to a lot of concerts. I saw Gypsy Kings when I was younger, but when I started to know which bands I loved, I went to System of a Down concert that really affected me, and um, Metallica.
So you got started like really early on the heavy stuff. There was no gradual thing. That's a very unique process because I find a lot of the metal people were top 40, then punk rock, then metal.
Yeah, and when I was like 14, when someone introduced me to like Cradle of Filth and black metal, that's when I was like completely baptized in black metal fire. I became a black metal member of the culture. It was huge. You know, that was pretty major for me going from kind of a goth kid to black metal, and then it's such a it has its controversial elements, and it's probably one of the few genres of music that people could probably consider dangerous or something like that. So it was frightening for some people, but definitely
Right.
necessary.
To be clear, you liked black metal, but you didn't burn down churches.
Right. And I remember though when I would be on tour, when I got taunted and stuff like that for coming from a wealthy family or something, I'd always think, is this my chance to really like, earn my place as a one of those guys that did something crazy with one of these, and then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go to jail.
I don't blame you, but in terms of the family thing, a non-obvious question, something that I'm ultra curious about. I grew up a big fan of Phantom Planet and Rooney. People don't usually associate that with being part of the family. Did them having record deals at a young age inspire you at all? Is that something that you even talked about?
Totally. I mean, Jason Schwartzman, my cousin, and also the drummer from Phantom Planet, he showed me my first drum beat. He got me playing a straight 16 note um, drum beat, and showed me my how to use the kick, snare, and hi hat properly to make beats.
Wow. He's a very underrated drummer, also great singer and guitar player. And Robert had a record deal when he was what, 15?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that intrigues me so much because they were peers with Kara's Flowers, aka Maroon 5. Were you in that world too by default?
Well, I was definitely around it and saw their success. I love Rooney and I love Phantom Planet, and I also really love how my aunt Talia raised those two amazing boys. The two amazing men that they are now. She was always a very encouraging mother and would evoke creativity, just like my mother and father. They naturally in my family we're all kind of genetically programmed to be artists, but the way we kind of do it is just to have the instruments and all of the mediums around the child so that they can become one of us.
Oh, and think of all the great movies and also the music videos by Roman, etc. Hey, we love the Coppolas. There may be a Raising Arizona poster there. That there may or may not be, but the bottom line is, Wes, you're keeping the family proud and you're doing great art. The MMA stuff is inspiring because you don't come into MMA as a bloodthirsty kind of person. You come in for the right reasons, it seems. So I'm really looking forward to whatever you have coming next. And what is the next thing that we should be looking for?
Well, thank you so much. And the next thing that we should be looking for definitely is what'll come next musically with the Wolf. The things that will be attached, what the Wolf will be attached to. Also, some movies that are going to be coming out that I've done with my fiance. Luckily, I met someone that is also in the industry, and we can make films together, like I've always wanted to. And yeah, I think that there's going to be a couple albums that are going to come. I want to do it fast because the Wolf took some time. I went through a huge transition in my life, and it kind of delayed things. So I can't let that happen again. I just want to start shooting straight from the hip again.
So to keep up on all that, what's the best way to find out? Is it Instagram?
Definitely, my Instagram at West Cage Coppola is a great place to be in contact with me and to see what kind of music and acting I'm doing, and also to see some of my surreal and absurd humor that I do with some of my movies. I call them microfilms. I make little short films that are absolutely ridiculous and just random humor. And then also I post some of my MMA history and stuff on that. Yeah, I think people will really enjoy it. And then of course, yeah, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes.
And in closing, where do we look for Blasko's stuff?
For his
Yeah, how do we keep up on Blasko? Because who's plugging Blasko?
Exactly. Well, he's a total metal god. You could see his stuff. He did the bass on Educated Horses, which was my favorite Rob Zombie album, of course. And then there's incredible videos of Blasko on YouTube, and his Instagram's radical too. I mean, you could see all the philanthropic stuff that he does, and he also wrote a book called Diary of a Catman, which is his autobiography, which is awesome.
Instead of Diary of a Madman with his old boss Ozzy, Diary of a Catman. Man,
Yep.
You metal people are geniuses.
Paltrocast.